Welcome to First. I'm Shirley Min along with Nichelle Polston and Mark Eichman. The Queen Theater is looking for a new sponsor. World Cafe Live is pulling out, and it raises questions about Wilmington's revitalization efforts.
The American Lung Association continues to work on helping Delawareans make a better effort when it comes to understanding the dangers of tobacco. An update on their report card this week.
History books teach the contributions of Harriet Tubman to American history, but what about the name Peter Spencer? We have an appreciation this week of his contributions to African American history and Delaware history. First, your public media news magazine starts now.
World Cafe Live at the Queen will close its doors in May, 6 years after opening in Wilmington. Last week's announcement has many worried about the Queen Theater's future on Market Street. What happened and what this means for downtown Wilmington is the subject of this week's First Look.
3, 2, 1.
When the storied Queen Theater was brought back to life in 2011, there was so much optimism about its success and the renaissance of downtown Wilmington.
I came into the Queen Theater and I was hooked. When I saw this place and heard that people were willing to do what we needed to do to make it work as a World Cafe Live, I said, let's go. It was a symbol of the urban blight of Market Street since 1959, and now it's really a beacon of hope.
For many years, the Queen was that beacon of hope. The first year alone, World Cafe Live drew more than 120,000 people from surrounding states, curious about the building and the city, and excited because of the music.
Well, hello, Wilmington, Delaware.
The music venue became the centerpiece around which the Loma District would develop. Soon, restaurants, coffee shops, bars, and apartments started popping up. Many, including Hal Reel, saw the Queen's resurrection as the key piece to finally turning Market Street and downtown around. And while much has changed in the 6 years since World Cafe Live came to town, Reel says the improvements have not been strong enough and fast enough to justify the music venue's 24/7 pace. A Facebook post from Reel states, "We are proud of the role we have played as a catalyst for revitalizing downtown Wilmington, although we had hoped the downtown renaissance would have grown at a more rapid pace."
One of the unique challenges that I think World Cafe Live had is maintaining a 7-day-a-week operation.
Mark Fields is the executive director of the Grand Opera House, a few blocks up the street from the Queen.
We rarely at the Grand or the Playhouse are in a situation where we're trying to put performances in here every night of the week and in multiple venues. And so that does create a different equation that presents more challenges.
City spokesman John Rago says new management will take over operations at the Queen after World Cafe Live leaves at the end of May, emphasizing in an email that the Queen is not closing. According to Rago, we were in need of some new energy and a new focus on programming at the venerable Queen Theater, so this change was probably overdue. The future looks bright for the Queen and for all of the downtown district, which continues to attract residents and visitors alike. The Light Up the Queen Foundation isn't going anywhere either, Director of Development Tina Betts says.
A lot of the arts programming that the Light Up the Queen Foundation does happens right here in this space. So a cooperative partner is very, very necessary, and World Cafe Live has been that. When we're moving forward with another partner, those are the types of things that we'll talk about.
From a business standpoint, the changes to downtown weren't enough to keep World Cafe Live afloat, but Betts says Wilmington's renaissance is well underway and gaining momentum.
It's like reading a book. You know, you turn a page, it's the next chapter. World Cafe Live was the perfect partner with Hal Reel and his energy and his ideas to get this project off the ground and to stabilize this area of Wilmington. I mean, the corner of 5th and Market Street is so different than it was even 6 short years ago. And it's because of the team that was put together that included World Cafe Live.
This might be a setback, but it's not going to stop what's going on. And I think we can clearly see it from here. We're not to it yet, but we can see it. And it's pretty gratifying after a lot of hard work on the part of a lot of people to get there.
So we're still waiting to find out who'll come in after World Cafe Live exits the Queen on May 25th. But shows and events, including this year's Shine a Light concert fundraiser benefiting the Light Up the Queen Foundation, are expected to go on as scheduled through the end of that month. And when the Queen opened, a big part of the draw was public radio station WXPN broadcasting live from downtown Wilmington at the Queen. Where does this leave them? So WXPN General Manager Roger LeMay says that his station will continue to work with World Cafe Live in Philadelphia and that he hopes to continue to rock in the future and remain part of the Queen under the new management. Said as only he can. So the city's been talking about turning around Wilmington and really making it a place, for a destination for people to go, especially at night. And we've seen that ball sort of slowly rolling. Why is it taking so long to see some of the fruits of that? So Mark Fields from the Grand says that it has taken this long to get all the right stakeholders on the same page. You know, the performance venues, the businesses downtown, the restaurants to all come online together. But that collaborative nature finally coming together at this moment is why the city is now seeing results. All right, thanks, Shirley. And we'll continue to check out, see where the Queen is going and check out newsworks.org/Delaware to see who will be taking over the Queen after World Cafe Live leaves. Coming up, Peter Spencer may be known now as a plaza near the government centers in Wilmington, but his place in history is so much more. And we'll head to Georgetown to experience something called the cigar box guitar. This week's news in Delaware was overshadowed by the prison hostage situation at the James Vaughn Correctional Center in Smyrna.
Our entire Delaware team reported the story. Here's a portion of the news conference Thursday morning after the situation ended.
We will leave no stone unturned. We will bring every resource that we have to sort out this issue and this problem to make sure that our correctional facilities are secure and that the employees who work there are safe, recognizing that this is very dangerous work.
There will be a lot more to this story over the coming weeks. You can read how this situation developed on newsworks.org/Delaware.
The governor's week began with the first of his budget reset meetings. It was a promise Governor Carney made on the campaign trail in his inaugural address.
His first session took place in Wilmington. The goal was to listen to all ideas and figure out the best way to close a $350 million budget gap.
The donut, if you will, on the left is a breakdown on where the increase in the budget is coming from. So you can see it's really driven by Medicaid and personnel costs.
Delaware Governor John Carney met with residents in Wilmington Monday morning to present the economic challenges the state faces as he prepares to present his first budget for the fiscal year starting on July 1st. Carney talked with several dozen people for nearly an hour.
I thought it went well. You know, it was a little bit easier than I expected to explain to the constituents who showed up the problem that we have. It seemed like they really got it. And I didn't know what to expect in terms of the reaction, but had some good ideas.
For some at the meeting, the bleak outlook for state finances was a familiar picture.
But I look at this graph and see the bank tax get smaller and smaller and the personal income tax stay the same.
We just want to be able to come home, take care of our families, and not be taken away from our families because we have to work double shifts. It's very discouraging because it seems like, you know, the same broken record over and over and over for the past 8 years. So it's sad.
We have a ton more, and it'll be interesting to see the ideas that come out of it, and really try to build some understanding across the state about the problem that we have, and maybe help us come up with some good solutions.
Carney will make his budget proposal to state lawmakers in late March.
And then we'll work from there and then engage with the legislature, and it's going to be a tough spring, I expect.
The Carney Budget Reset Roadshow moves on to the next 2 weekends. If you want to know if there's a session near you, go to governor.delaware.gov/budget reset.
As if Governor Carney doesn't have enough to deal with, let's throw in another, and that would be the makeup of the Delaware Senate. When Bethany Hall Long resigned her Senate seat to become lieutenant governor, it meant the Senate was tied to 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans.
John Marino is the Republican running. He's run for that seat before. The Democrat is Stephanie Hansen. There is a Libertarian candidate, Joseph Lasendorfer. The three debated this past Wednesday. It was hosted by WDEL Radio. Topic 1. The economy.
With regard to the deficit, I think one of the things that we can't do right off the bat is we can't raise taxes. First of all, the reason that we're in the situation that we are is that we have a structural problem with regard to our revenue stream. We're spending too much time, we spend too much of our revenue stream on getting abandoned property and lottery proceeds. These are unstable. The problem that we have is that the largest part of our revenue should be coming from personal income tax, which is directly tied to jobs. The emphasis here should be on strategic economic development. That is the key to getting ourselves out of a budget situation that we currently have. With regard to cuts to services, at this point, all of the departments in the state of Delaware have been given the demand to go back and take a look at what they can cut. I would ask for a top-down assessment of state government, just as I did in Newcastle County Council.
We have big problems in Delaware right now, folks. The bottom line is we have spending problems. We have a government right now that's $350 million in a budget shortfall, and the governor has already come out in his proposed budget address and indicated that there's going to be $250 million of additional tax increases and fees put on individuals and businesses in the state. We are losing jobs in this state, we are losing good paying salaries in this state, and we are also, more importantly, losing careers. We have to get the spending under control. Over the last 9 or 10 years, this government has spent over $750 million of our tax money in additional spending. Therein lies the problem. We need to set up a metrics where we can analyze where our state tax money is being allocated to and be sure that whatever programs and organizations the money is going to, that they are functioning properly, that they are successful, and if they are not, we need to start cutting funding to some of those programs.
There was an exchange over charter schools and what role they play in the state, and there was a longer conversation about education in Delaware in general.
One of my biggest priorities to move the economic engine in this state and bring businesses here and retain them is to fix the perception of our public education system, and it is a priority that must be done, and we need to give the teachers the resources that they need, eliminate top-heavy.
We are spending far too much time on testing, standardized testing. I think that we're spending too much resources in it, and it's not actually giving us the information that we need about our students, and it's not telling us how good of a job our teachers are doing either. I think we place too much emphasis on that. I am in favor of opt-out. I am also in favor of charter schools, because charter schools are public schools. It comes down to needs-based funding and an equitable distribution of the funding for our public school system.
I am definitely in favor of opt-out. I think all three of us are in agreement that standardized tests do not work. We need to get away from the focus on proficiency and focus on the growth of each individual student. I've said before that the teachers are like the foot soldiers of the classroom. They are on the front line every day working with the students. They know what's best for them. We need to give them what they need to succeed.
I found it interesting that my opponent, Stephanie Hansen, is speaking on opt-out now, and she had her position just a few days ago on her website was completely different than that.
Ms. Hansen? My position was never opposite from opt-out. I didn't think I had a position. I brought it up now because I have the position. But for someone to stay up here and say you want to help the public school system, who actively worked against the Appoquinimink referendum and proudly worked against it, I find that very hypocritical, Mr. Marino.
There was a moment during an exchange where Hansen accused Marino of bringing Washington-type gridlock to Dover. Marino countered with a politics-as-usual charge. They also discussed jobs and being a right-to-work state.
There's some right-to-work legislation that has been recommended by the Republican Party in right-to-work zones. Alan, here's the deal. We need to bring jobs back to the state of Delaware. We need to open our doors and have businesses come in here with opportunity against any type of regulations or restrictions that are going to prevent them from operating in the state of Delaware. Right to work is not anti-union. It is right to work simply states that you are not forced to join a union by the strong hand of government.
I think we need to call right to work what it is, okay? Let's rename it and make it accurate. It's right to work for less, okay? Right to work for less. When contractors are competing on the basis of lower wages, this creates a race to the bottom, and it pulls down living standards for the employees. Right to work is not good for our economy. It is not good for our working families. This is the way with our union families. It's like the Republicans think that they have it too good. You know, they're able to put food on the table. They're able to plan for college for their kids. They're able to plan for their own retirement. Union families and working families need right to work.
Well, I think I'm probably somewhere in between, where I do support collective bargaining and I support unions and I support workers' rights. And I think that one of the things that's kind of sad in Delaware is how easy it is for employers to fire people unjustly, and then the burden of proof is on you to prove that you were fired unjustly. And so I'm probably somewhere in between, where I want jobs and I don't want to hinder job growth, but I think we need to defend workers' rights.
We'll have more on this contest on the next two broadcasts. The first, this Senate election will take place Saturday, February 25th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And if you want to know more about the election, go to electionsncc.delaware.gov/special. Last month, Lisa Blunt Rochester became the first African American to represent Delaware in Congress. The foundation for that historic moment was laid in Wilmington more than 200 years ago by the man some call Delaware's first civil rights leader, former slave Peter Spencer. Wilmington's Mother African Union Church traces its history all the way back to the early 1800s, when it was founded by Peter Spencer.
He was the first civil rights leader in the nation.
Reverend Dr. Lawrence Livingston, who now leads the church, says Spencer's message was both religious and political.
When he started the church, he also started based on the First Amendment, which gives a freedom of religion and the freedom of speech, and also the right to peaceable assembly.
At a time when 5 or more blacks could not gather without supervision, Peter Spencer, a freed slave, broke the law, establishing America's first incorporated African American church in Wilmington.
It's one of the best unknown pieces of history.
His church led massive gatherings of African Americans starting in 1814 at an event called the August Quarterly.
And I just can't get my mind around how in the 1800s he also convinced slave holders, people that held men and women captive, to allow some of them to go free for the weekend to come to Wilmington.
And go free they would. The spiritual celebration had another highly secret purpose.
People would come to Wilmington and plan future escapes.
Escapes pulled off with the help of another hometown hero, Quaker Thomas Garrett.
Thomas Garrett was one of the preeminent conductor, station master, you pick the term you want to use on the Underground Railroad.
He's like hooking up with Harriet Tubman and getting people the heck out of there. They're part of why in the Underground Railroad, Wilmington was called Freedom Land. And when he died, they carried him up the hill to the Quaker cemetery on their shoulders. It's the kind of stuff you go, man, our history is like cool like movies.
Peter Spencer is buried at the site of his church, now Wilmington's Peter Spencer Plaza. His legacy is also on display at the church's new location.
Well, the Peter Spencer Hallway is kind of our effort to chronicle the history of African Americans here in the nation.
The hallway documents Peter Spencer's contributions to the civil rights movement long before slavery was abolished.
When we go back 200 years, Peter Spencer was at the center of building this kind of community and religious or spiritual solidarity. It's not a coincidence, I think, that the churches were in the center of that.
Not only did Spencer start 31 churches and several schools before he died in 1843, he was also personally involved in teaching, and he was a firm believer that the combination of education and religion could be a powerful force for change.
A national tobacco report reveals the state has earned mixed grades regarding how it deals with smoking and tobacco-related products. While Delaware failed in some categories and made significant progress in others, the report also serves as a guide to the American Lung Association that shows that it still has some work to do.
So it's been 25 months. So I think I've got it. I know I've got it this time.
Paul Calistro of the West End Neighborhood House says he smoked for 40 years and tried to quit at least 15 times during his addiction.
My mother smoked, my father smoked, my grandparents smoked, all my aunts and uncles smoked, everyone I knew smoked. And so I hate to say this, but I think I was in 7th grade or 6th grade when I picked up my first cigarette, and I was probably hooked by the time I was a sophomore in high school.
Callistro's past addiction to cigarettes is what the American Lung Association is trying to prevent others from experiencing. The association recently released its 2016 State of Tobacco report that looks at how policies protect public health and individuals from the harms of tobacco use. And it appears that there's still room for improvement.
In the state of Delaware, we had a mixed bag of grades. We had a couple Fs, we had a D, a C, and we did have one A.
Here's a quick look at the categories in Delaware grades. The A came from Delaware's work to strengthen and create smoke-free workplace laws, which started back in 2002 when Delaware became the second state in the country to pass a clean indoor air law. Delaware struggled in the level of state tobacco taxes, where the tax is different for various tobacco products. The state also scored poorly because the age of sale for tobacco products remains at 18 opposed to the recommended age of 21.
So if you don't tax cigarettes and other tobacco products the same, then one of the products will be cheaper and people will tend to congregate or go towards that particular product. And so we'll have a lot of younger people using these cheaper products because they're easy to get and they're cheaper to get.
Right now, the tobacco tax in the state is $1.60 for a pack of cigarettes. And officials say in order to see some positive changes, the tax must be increased.
When we're looking at tobacco taxes, for every 10% increase in a tobacco tax, we see a 7% decrease in young people using tobacco and a 4% overall decline in consumption.
Prevention programs can also help numbers decline, so the goal is to also increase educational programs to warn people about the dangers of smoking and educating them on the importance of choosing a healthier lifestyle.
When we look at funding for prevention and cessation programs, we currently spend about $6.3 million here in Delaware. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says and suggests that we should be spending about $13 million. And so we are only halfway there.
Tobacco use continues to be the leading cause of death and disease in the nation, and officials say something needs to be done about it.
7 out of 10 people want to quit smoking. 50% of those people actually try to quit smoking, and only 10% of those people succeed.
One thing is certain, giving up cigarettes has worked out for Callistro's health and for him financially.
Over the last 2 years that I haven't smoked, I've avoided 20,000 cigarettes, and I've saved probably $6,000.
For more information on smoking and tobacco-related prevention programs or the American Lung Association, visit them online at lung.org.
After retiring from a stress-filled job, Tom Allen needed something to do. He discovered how to make cigar box guitars. And now Tom spends his retirement years making and selling his homemade creations. First Experience visits his Georgetown home to see and hear.
I'm Tom Allen. When I had to retire, I had an extremely stressful job, suffered 4 heart attacks, and the doctor said, you need to quit or you're not going to be here. I really needed something to do. So because I have a love for blues music, and I've played guitar since I was 12 years old, I really got into that history of guitar making and came across cigar box guitars. My first one was absolute junk, although I still have it. From there, I guess you call it, honed my craft, and a friend came over one day and saw it and said, you ought to come to this blues festival I do every year, and went out, sold a bunch of guitars, and kept going from there. I say you can make music out of anything. Metal lunch boxes. I've used an Altoids tin. I've used VW Beetle hubcaps. Anything that I can get a pickup in to electrify it, because everything I do is pretty much all electric. If I can get a pickup in that little box some way, I'm gonna make some guitars out of it. I find boxes in a lot of places. Cigar boxes have become harder and harder to come by. My wife and I do a lot of like thrift store shopping to look for what I call onboard guitars. If it's a box of some nature, I'll try to make it work. I think my favorite part is really playing the finished product. It's a level of satisfaction. There can be a huge level of frustration if it's not working right and you have to rebuild. You know, in the beginning, I think I probably smashed a few. So I do it when I feel like it. I do it for fun, and I made a determination a few years ago that what I do, I'm gonna have fun with it, and if not, I'm gonna stop. And I tell everybody, if this ever becomes a job, I quit. When somebody buys one, you know, first of all, I want them to enjoy it. Second of all, I want them to be happy. And I am proud to say in the 6 or 7 years that I've made guitars, I've never had an unhappy customer. And you know, I'll fix it. If it's wrong, I'll fix it. I don't want somebody out there saying, I bought this guitar from Tom Allen and it's a piece of junk. I want them to say, I bought it from Tom Allen, I love it, and I'm gonna play it, you know? So really the end result is I just really want somebody to be happy with it. You pick one up and play it, and if you like the sound, then that's the one for you.
Tom says he can make music out of almost anything, including a soup can. He takes this soup can guitar into schools to talk about music. You can find Tom and his guitars at music and craft fairs around the region, and you can visit him on the web at outoftheboxguitars.com for more information.
Next week on First, we'll dig a little deeper into the recommendations from city, county, and state leaders that come out of the CDC report that Wilmington's violence issue is also a health issue.
So we'll have that story, and then we'll also thumb through the pages of Delaware Today magazine. That is First for this week. We thank you for watching. For Mark Eichman and Michelle Polston, I'm Shirley Min. Now, before we go, though, we do want to give a shout out to Charlie O'Neill of our crew. He is retiring today, and we wish him the best. Charlie, we love you. Have a great week.